Hello, everybody, and happy, Wednesday. And you can hear the sound of drills in the background. You will not be surprised to know we've got people here working still today. I'm just going to talk over what's going on. You guys have been here before. It's not like this is the first time, right? Hey, Philippa. Hi, Michelle. Hey, Julie. Let me turn my cameras around for you. I am a little discombobulated. Nope, that's not the one. Yep, that's the one I want. Kind of, sort of, except that my cameras decided to move themselves around. So let's see if we can move this guy back. Bear with me. You know, there are days and then there are days, right? Just trying to fill my screen up. Okay, nope. We're going to work on this section down here. There we go. That's a little bit more in alignment with what's going on. Hi, Aliyu. I think you were here last week. I can't remember, and I don't remember what you told us to call you. And if I'm not remembering that it was you last week, forgive me and let me know how you want us to refer to you. Hey, Barbara. Yeah. Hi, Terry. Yeah, I'm just a little discombobulated. I just got this month's bill, and it was a lot more than I was anticipating. So my heart is still going pitter pat, pitter pat. But you know, that's the story in construction. Everything always takes longer and costs more than you ever anticipate. Allie, okay, it is Allie. I couldn't remember. Sorry. And like I said, my brain is going multiple directions. Is this too close up? I can see. Maybe go back just a tiny bit. So yeah, it's French knot. Whoops. That's definitely meant to do. It's a French knots kind of day because, you know, they're easy. I don't have to think too hard about them. And there are days when that's just exactly what I need, is something that I don't have to think too hard about. Everything is going up except our Social Security. Yeah, I know. Well, we got, like, I think mine went up. I don't know. It was a paltry amount. It was a paltry amount. Move this back just a little. There we go. Getting the bill, though, does tell me that some of the other projects that we were hoping we were going to be able to do will be postponed, and that's okay too. Certainly this big commission is going to help a little bit, but I already got one payment, but I still have, you know, I've got 9 months worth of work ahead of me on that. The yarn is supposed to arrive from France today, so I will do an unboxing video when I get that. Okay, Barb, yeah, I'm going to probably cut out about 10 minutes early as well so that I can get to my next appointment and hike down to wherever my husband had to park the car, so there was room for everybody. So what is going on with everybody this week? Who is doing what? Philippa, did you find your mojo yet? I do think you were tackling it the right way, just to kind of do some mindless stuff and let your brain just kind of go free. I know that's something that works for me, that and organizing my materials. Although right now I will probably post later a picture of the way the studio is torn up now, because I was in the middle of a project and then we had to get to the walls for the electrician to do some of the stuff that he's doing. And so everything is just, yeah, it's torn up again. I have an interview that somebody wants to do with me in the studio, but I have to wait until I can put it back together again. Philippa said, nope, still mindless, using up all my leftover yarns. Well, you know, that's feels accomplishment though, right? To use up the leftovers. That's what I'm doing with my little wildscapes on the wood pieces. It's a nice way to use up those leftovers. Hey, Sandy, she said, good afternoon, lurking and working on a jigsaw puzzle. That's a nice way to calm your brain. Take a deep breath. I just remembered something else I forgot to toss in the trash pile. The guys are piling up a bunch of stuff, cleaning things up outside, because we have no idea when the painters are going to show up. We are now at the whims of the weather. Hey, Joanne, how are you doing? What are you working on lately? Julie said, I'm working on a Hexi lap quilt pad so I don't use my ironing pad when I work on the couch in the evening. That's very smart. Michelle's getting ready to make some wonky blue jean houses. Barbara said, I did figure out how to get the jaggies out of the thrifted yarn, the vest I made in the 90s that I took apart. Acrylic yarn, you have to steam. Ah, hold on a second. Eric, for 30. Allie is working on 2 moss embroidery projects, got a new frame, and I'm trying to get used to the new working position. Oh, did you get a new one that you're still holding in your hands, or did you get one like this one holds, it's sitting on my desk and it holds it, or I have 2 floor stands? Terry said I was supposed to go to a meeting today, but we have snow on its way. Ooh, yikes. Yes. Stay in where it's warm and off the roads, right? Those first few snows, I would imagine, around here with the first few rains, people, well, no, all the rains, people are crazy going over the mountain. Barb says, Julie, I've seen those Hexies on YouTube, and Becky, Aunt Beck's Creation, is doing it. Nice. Ah, Terry's brushing Dylan, her dog. She said he has been neglected for a bit. And he's got that long fur. He needs it, huh? I've got down here, this is some really, really thin cotton that that is stretched here, the green. So I've got a scrap piece of wool and a scrap piece of felt just to give a little bit more stability since I know I'm going to shape this. Joanne says we have ice and snow in the forecast. Yikes. Allie said it's a large cross stitch frame that works like a drafter's table. Oh, that sounds interesting. I think, you know, I could really become addicted to getting all the different frames to hold my work. Let's see if I move my chair for a minute. You guys should be able to see. This is my biggest one, my floor stand. And what I love about this is that it's got the 2 clamps on either side. So I'm only limited by how big the wood frame is that I put in there. I could put a, 4-foot piece in there, which I will have to do when I'm working on the commission. And then I have another one of these stands that just has a single clamp, and I can do something up to about a 16-inch hoop. I can do a larger hoop, but it kind of gets wobbly. So I try to limit that one to about a 16-inch one. Julie wants to know, is Aunt Beck's a YouTube channel, Barb? Is that what her channel's called? I can't remember. So I have not been doing a lot of anything new, been trying to think about how I'm going to approach the commission. I'm just really excited to see her yarns and see how everything is going together. See what I have already that I won't have to buy. You know, the less yarn that I have to buy, of course, then the more money that goes in my pocket. Even though I already paid for it, it's just, really nice. Michelle says kind of overcast here in the Silicon Valley in California. Yeah, it's cloudy here. We've got hints of blue, but mostly it's cloudy, and it was pretty overcast yesterday too. I think, is it next week? I think maybe rain's supposed to be coming. So last I heard, our painters aren't even thinking about us until February, but we normally still are getting rain. So I don't know. I'm telling myself maybe it'll be Easter. I guess if that means that the stucco is completely dried, they can do the patching. I mean, it's not like I can do anything about it, right? I can't pitch a fit and say come sooner because we want them to be able to do it when it's right. I still got a little bit more organizing I want to do in the studio before I start the commission. So I want to know that everything else is sort of out of the way and that can be my only thing that I'm concentrating on. Then I've got little projects I can do, like these French knots in between times, but I want to make sure I have all the space needed to kind of begin the initial palette playground. And then, of course, it's time to start thinking about doing the income taxes, which I'm not looking forward to this year. Or probably next year. So Barb, how did you steam your acrylic yarn to get the wrinkles out? Did you, yeah, I can't even imagine how you would do something like that. Barbara says, yes, Julie, Aunt Beck's creation. She does a lot of mixed media, stitching, and whatever. Have a little hand steamer. Don't even remember when I got it or why. Ah. You know, I got one of those years ago when I was doing surface embroidery, because everybody told me I had to steam all my embroidery when I was done. And I started making wildscapes and realized I never used the steamer, so promptly donated it. I got all these hairs in here. Half of them are mine. Some of them are Tally's. It's trouble with projects that hang around for a while. Barb says, I do know that we've used the little steamer to steam wallpaper off back in 2016, but that wasn't what we got it for. Maybe for quilting, back when you were doing a lot more quilting. I wish I had some more of my Morgan hoops. This is a pretty nice hoop, the Nurge, but these Morgan no-slip hoops are my favorite. They actually don't slip. Stuff stays really super tight. Barb says, so what I learned is that acrylics like steam, so those edges of my shawl that were curling are no longer curling. Nice. I'm looking, when the weather gets nicer, I've got a bunch of acrylics in colors that I'm not crazy about. So I'm going to do, I guess, some acid dyeing is the best way to dye the acrylics. And I have some novelty yarns that they're like bright fluorescent green. And of course, that doesn't really work with my stuff. So I want to darken them a bit. But I'm not going to worry about that until the weather's nicer, because that's just too much of a pain to do in the house. Too much of, I have a ton of it. Stuff that, you know, you buy online and the colors look just perfect in the picture and they're like not quite right when you get them, but the yarn is really good. So and definitely not the kind of thing to do when there's sawdust going all over the place. And wool's like lukewarm wash water. Yeah, and the only thing I've done with wools is shrink it so that I could get it felted. Barb says, Allie, the first time when I washed a skein of this yarn, it did not remove the jaggies, the memory the yarn has of being knit into a pattern, but with the steam, it loses the memory. Well, that's a good trick to have in your book, most definitely. I am planting plants that I want to get into the garden and trying to think about what we can do to keep the rabbits away from some of the stuff. Which is hard. When you live in the country, rabbits and deer, they are a way of life. And the deer, you know, I don't care what they do outside the fence line and they can't come in, but of course those little rabbits, they can come in all over the place. Hey, Roxanne. She says, hello, hello, happy new year. So happy to make this. I'm glad you were able to do it as well. I know it's been really hard for you in this time frame. Barb says, now I'm winding the balls I've made on the back of a kitchen chair. The chair back is covered with a plastic bag to protect it. Then I steam it there. I haven't washed it yet. If I haven't washed it yet. Okay. That's a good way to do it. Roxanne, what are you working on lately? I am so out of the loop on what everybody's doing. I really need to maybe this weekend spend some time checking out. Says, I put it into the wash water in the sink, let it sit for a few minutes, and I lay it in a big towel. Well, you're getting the whole production thing happening. And maybe you'll be thrifting and you'll find somebody else's sweater that you want to unravel. Did I mention that I want to plant bluebells? No, bluebells are a Texas flower, not a California native flower. I do want to get some blue-eyed grass, which is a beautiful native one. I don't know where he is. There's a whole lot of plants I want, but honestly, after the bill we just got from the contractor, I will be limiting my planting choices. My heart's still going pitter pat, thinking about, okay, what we're going to change. Barb says, this all started because I thought I'd like to thrift some nicer yarn for a sweater for my honey. It's so expensive these days. Yeah, everything. I was looking at, I just threw something across, well, I don't think it was a needle, but I guess I'll find it when I'm walking around barefoot. I was looking at some planters and I can't believe the ridiculous price on ceramic planters. It's crazy. Roxanne said, working on making a coat with Japanese fabrics. Oh, wow. That sounds gorgeous and ambitious, a coat. Of course, you know, I know there's lots of you that make clothing all the time. It's just not something that I have ever done well, that's for sure. Oh, hold on just a second, folks. Well, I guess I can make it work another way. Just a sec here. All right, I'll make that work. Never mind. Roxanne said, Barb, it really is so relatable. Yeah. I mean, yak yarn that I like so much that I'm glad I have some of, since her prices have now gone up to $40 for a skein. I'm like, oh my goodness. No, I won't be using that for a while. I'm really hoping when I get the yarns from France that I will have some complementary colors. Terry said, I love blue-eyed grass. I dig it up and put it in the flower bed. Yeah, I'm going to have to put mine in pots this time. We had a lot of it was native to the property when we moved in here, and the rabbits ate it all down, just completely destroyed it. So I'll have to put mine in pots. And then I have a few sections that are going to go behind fences, so I can put some in there. What I like is if I can find somebody that's selling it like in a 1-gallon can, then I can separate a lot of the little pieces and, you know, just be patient as it fills in. Yeah, pesky rabbits for sure. But the payoff, living where we do, is certainly worth it. We didn't have to deal with rabbits when we lived in San Jose, but we were pretty miserable. Blue-eyed grass looks like almost like the leaves are like little bulb leaves, because it is a bulb actually, like little iris leaves, and it's just got the beautiful little blue flowers on it. And there's also a golden one, which is not quite as dependable, but we had some of that too. Again, the rabbits, they ate all my yarrow. Although when I did my new little fenced area, I found one tiny little patch that I'm hoping will come back. They ate all my ruby buckwheat. And so I've got just the roots of it that I'm moving into a pot that I hope will be able to come back. There's just so much. I mean, pretty much anything that isn't mint or sage, they seem to eat until things get to a certain height. So like the vines that we're putting on the pergola, I've had to put fences around them, and more vines that we want to put in are going to have fences everywhere. But it's worth it. The trade-off to be able to live in a place that, every time we walk out the door and we smell the fresh air and we have all the beautiful trees and nature. Terry said, I find seeds for some wild things on Etsy. Yeah, we have a few places around here that do native seeds. But the time for putting our native seeds in should have been back in, like November. I can still put some out, but really the time for planting our natives is November, December. And then whenever the next rain comes, I'll get the last of the things in the ground. We have a ecological nursery that grows a lot of things in very small, like tree pots. So they're less expensive. And I'm going to do an order with them. All right, Barb, it was nice to see you for a little bit. Have a great weekend. Normally I work on finishing these kinds of French knots projects while we're watching TV, but lately, by the time the end of the day comes and everybody's gone home, we kind of sit down and collapse, and I haven't even been picking up a needle. But I'm not going to be able to take that much time once I start the commission. And I told myself I wouldn't start until February 1st. That way I knew that I had time to gear up for all the other stuff that I was doing. Joanne, what are you working on lately? Or are you planning your spring garden? Philippa, what are you going to do with all the little things that you've been using up, creating while you're using up all your leftover yarns? You going to donate them somewhere? I've got to take another look at the art that I have that I might be willing to donate, because there's an event at a local gallery next month, and they collect art from local artists, and all the proceeds on the sale go to support arts in the community and the schools. Joanna is buying seeds and altering picture frames. I'm sorry, I had gotten rid of a whole bunch of really neat looking funky frames years ago, and now that I've got the space on the side yard with the fence that I'm going to decorate, I wish I had them, because I would be putting the frames out there on the fence and then adding lichen and stuff. The hoop stand that I am using, this is the Nurge. Let me show you. I'll pull it back a little bit here. And what I like about this one, it's got the articulating arm. And you can sit on it if you want. I find it kind of uncomfortable. You can put it under one thigh, but I like it, you know, right here on my desk. It's good for when I'm doing the videos. Philippa said, I have no idea. I donated a lot of items when oh, probably will. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, when we just want to just keep creating and not thinking about what we're going to do with something when it's done. I was in an art meeting this morning though, but there was a lot of talk about just that, about letting yourself have that freedom. You know, work with, you know, all your materials. Don't save your perfect stuff, and don't put boundaries on yourself that, you know, I have to make this for sale or this has to go into the next show. Let yourself just play for play's sake, because that's how you stretch and grow as an artist. And I definitely agree with that. I mean, that's kind of the way the Just Because books were going. You know, it was my way to play with Stitch and figure out what I loved and what I didn't love, and how I figured out how important texture was to me. Anytime I see people talk about how much their hands hurt after stitching all day, I want to say get a hoop stand, because I tell you, they have absolutely changed the way I can work. I can definitely stitch longer, and I don't have the pain that I used to have, as long as I remember to not sit on the floor while I'm doing things, because that's horrible for my back. Philippa said, oh, I sometimes do the art abandonment route. It's fun. I have heard about that. And there are people, there's a couple places around me here that have the tiny little libraries, but instead of books, they have art in it. So that's kind of fun. There's nursing homes, there's shelters, there's other places lots of places things can be done. I don't donate, or I don't make practical stuff. So my art, I don't know, you know, if I was making hand warmers or beanies or blankets, I could see that. Allie said, I love that idea. I'm slowly starting to put my work out into galleries. It's definitely a different experience. Yes. The first time I sent my stuff out to a gallery, and it was in New York, and I was so excited. And, you know, honestly, I thought that was going to be like, boom, that was going to change everything for me. I was going to suddenly, more people were going to follow me on Instagram. I was going to be selling more art. They're going to be visiting my website. I got like a 3-word thank you note from the gallery, and they're the ones that sought me out first and invited me. It wasn't even an open call. She sought me out because she had seen my work on Instagram, but it was such a different experience. And since then, I've had work in a few other galleries, and it's been the same thing. Definitely not like sharing your work on social media. It is something to get used to. Are you entering open calls, Allie, or do you have local connections? I've joined a couple of local art professional groups within, and by local, I mean within easy driving distance, and getting some leads from there. So the show I'm doing in June will be, I'll be one of 4 members in a member show there. And then we have around here, we have something called First Fridays for art, and your art, you pair up with a local business, and their business stays open for a few hours on a Friday night, and people can come around and see your art. So I'm doing one of those in, I think it's July. I didn't want to do anything before then because I want to make sure I have enough for the show in June. You know, I may end up closing off a little bit earlier than I thought I was going to today, because I would really like to go. Since I have to be someplace at 1:15, and I would like to go talk to the contractor while he's still here, because he wasn't going to be here for very long. And he got here just before I was going live. So I hope you guys will forgive me for that. I know we have a small crowd lately, and that's fine. It might inform where I'm going in the future with this. It might be back to regular videos. I do know that the yarn from France is supposed to arrive today, and I will, as soon as I have quiet, I will do an unboxing video on that. I'm very excited to see the colors, to see if I had nailed her palette or not. You know, what I'm afraid of is that they're going to be colors that I was not anticipating. And that's fine. I can make it work, but it just means I need to do a brain shift. Roxanne says, happy to catch you. Have a blessed day, everyone. Same to you, Roxanne. Good luck with the coat project. And yeah, folks, bear with me. Next week should be a little bit different, back to more normal. Won't have just too many things going on today. I'm going to sign off early, and thanks for those of you that hang around. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you had a good time. Have a great creative week, and I'll see some of you next week. Bye-bye for now.